Welcome to A Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And yeah, in the currently reading to what I'm going to get to next, that is a big question mark. I have ideas. I've written things down, but I've finished the TBR of the month. So, like, what to do? I'm trying desperately to figure out my mood. Mood readers, I don't know how you guys live. I'm struggling, like actively having a hard time. But let's get into what I have finished, because I do think I finished 5 things. I finished The Way Spring Arrives. I've been talking about this the last couple weeks. And so I finished up the collection. I think I'm in the minority of people who like the short stories more than the essays. I think I'm just more of a short story person. But of the ones that I finished since last talking to you guys, I really liked The Woman Carrying a Corpse. This is a story of someone who is carrying a corpse, and as she meets people on the road, they ask her why, and they provide reasons, and she's like, of course, that's my reason. And it's interesting. It's a really interesting take, and the twists and turns. It felt like a fable. It truly had this, like, quality to it that I enjoy in my stories. The Mountain and the Secret of Their Names was awesome. I don't know, maybe one of my favorites of the collection. I just really loved the theming in it. Emphasis on heritage and ancestry while also going forward in the future with technology. I thought it was a great balance of those things. So this is a really solid collection, I think. I mean, not going to be a favorite of all time because it's an anthology and that's just how I am with anthologies, but a real wide array of sci-fi, fantasy, kind of gothic horror, like really good collection, I feel. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I don't know what my favorites are. I'll still have to think about it. Maybe I'll mention that in my wrap up at the end of the month. I'll like actually sit down and like stare at the table of contents, figure that out. But it was a good time. I also finished Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. This was fun. I have a spoiler vlog for my patrons because this was our buddy read, so I got a lot of my thoughts out there. But I really enjoyed the project of this. This is very slice of life, like kind of like I don't know, someone's guide to being a werewolf kind of idea. You just get a lot of family stories, embellished stories of what it's like to be a werewolf, what werewolves don't do, what werewolves have to look out for to survive. But it also has this down-to-earth, real quality to it. Like, I'm reading this, and it's about a family of werewolves traveling the south because they can't stay in one place for long, but it doesn't feel like a story that is that fantastical. Like, it feels like if I read a literary fiction without the werewolves, this could be a literary contemporary work. Like, it just felt very grounded in reality, oddly enough, for a book about a boy who wants to become a werewolf in his family of werewolves. So it was fun. I'm glad it was short, because I do think when it is a slice of life story like this, I do require it to not overstay its welcome, or else I just bow out really quick. But here, I was engaged the whole time. I enjoyed following our main character. I immersion read it with the audiobook, which worked well for me. And I think it was a good introductory novel for Stephen Graham Jones for me, because I have read a short story. And I think for me, this was not as graphically horrific for me as some of his other works, but he does not stray away from some graphic descriptions, if that's something you don't like. And the end of this did actually really have, like, an interesting way of, like, having a climax in a slice of life story, so, like, I enjoyed that as well. Another book that was my last obligation read, well, no, second to last, that I actually finished relatively recently, and that's What Dreams May Come. I've only read I Am Legend by this author, and that's a short story about vampires. Don't let the movie fool you. And this was probably my least favorite of all the books that Evie gave me to read. That doesn't mean it was a bad book, but it's contemplative on theology and what is afterlife. And it did so in a way that I thought was really heavy-handed, even if it was trying to be inclusive. And that's not even an idea I like thinking about myself. Like, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the afterlife. It's not an important idea to me, and this book is 100% about what is the afterlife. And I just wasn't on board with it. And then our main character and his wife, there's just this, like, element to their story that I think is meant to be romantic and a love story. And, like, to me, it actually went too far to almost being toxic. But I understand that that's me interacting with the work. I don't actually think that's the purpose of it per se. So yeah, it's a little preachy. It's about a topic I don't want to be preached about too, but it was written well. I liked the audiobook narrator. So it wasn't a waste of my time. It just didn't really land for me, I think. A book that did land for me, oh, I'm so excited. And we're going to be discussing it. You're seeing this video Saturday at noon on my channel. Shadows of Self. I read this in 24 hours. I started this at like 8 o'clock on our sprints last Friday, and then I finished it by like 8 o'clock the next day. This is what my brain needed. Oh, I love Shadows of Self. It's such a shiny cover. I'll put up an image. So Shadows of Self on reread was everything and more for me. Like, I was just there. I needed this type of book when I was reading it. My first read, I actually gave it 4 stars. This time is an easy 5-star. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I think part of that is an expectations game. When I first read Shadow of Self, I wanted certain characters to be doing certain things. And, you know, on a first read, it can be frustrating to be like, but I want you to be doing this. Why are we not doing this? Are we ever going to get to this? And on a reread, I know what's going to happen. So I wasn't wanting something that I knew wouldn't happen. I could just accept the story for what it was giving me, and it was an amazing story. So I had a good time. I'm excited to talk about it. It just met me in my moment. I needed a cozy reread that I could just spend my whole day reading, and that's what I did on Saturday. And then I instantly watched Princess Diaries 2. But that's a different tangent, but that's a great movie. A movie that I didn't know was as old as it was. Anyways, I think there's one more thing I finished. Yes, I just don't have the physical book. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. And I am going to, in the next couple weeks, do a discussion review video of Fairy Tale and Nettle and Bone, because I think they're the same kind of subgenre of fantasy, and they both do similar things. I like both of them, but I love Nettle and Bone, and I only like Fairy Tale. I mean, I think Fairy Tale's like a 3.5, 4-star experience. Like, it wasn't bad or egregious. I think if I was physically reading it, I would have been like, can we finish this already? Like, I was already kind of getting that way with the audiobook, because brevity and King, they're not friends. And I think I starting to get what people say sometimes about some of his other works. So, like, I know in the one that's about JFK and assassination and time travel, it's a date, that's the title of that book, and I'm blanking on it right now. There's a lot of slice of life in the middle, apparently, of that book that people always talk about, and I either love it or hate it. And I loved the slice of life at the beginning of Fairy Tale. And I liked the idea of the portal fantasy, but I do think the portal fantasy portion was too long. Like, slice of life was a third of it, and thirds of it was the portal fantasy, and I think it needed to be more balanced. I think it just tried to do too much and was trying to pay homage to too many things, is what I think was happening. It was still a good time. Like, I didn't have a bad time. But I want to do a discussion comparing and talking about those books, because I think Nettle and Bone did a lot of what Fairy Tale is trying to do, but in like 280 pages. So, and it's a way for me to talk about Nettle and Bone, so that's exciting. But I read it. I read a Stephen King. I liked it. Did I like it more or less than Lisey's Story, my current favorite King? I don't know. Oh, that's hard. I think, I'll have to think about it. I'll answer that question in the wrap-up, maybe. I'll think about it. I wasn't prepared for that question that I asked myself and no one else was asking. And now, what am I in the middle of? I'm in the middle of a bunch of things because my brain doesn't know what it wants, because I've been exhausted. But a book that I'm still carrying over from last week, and I don't know where I am in it because I'm on my Kindle. I'm further than where the bookmark is, and that is Ocean's Echo. I think I'm about 50% of the way through now, according to my Kindle edition. And I'm still really liking this, and we have had a plot change that makes it more intriguing to me. It's not quite the fixing a boat trope. I don't know if anyone knows that, but it's like when you're trying to like have the montage scene of a movie of fixing something, we kind of are having that type of moment right now, and I eat that up. But I'm also like 50% of the way into a romance story, and it's like slow burn. Like, so I'm going to need that portion to show up. Like, I'm enjoying the politics and the sci-fi stuff per se, but like that's not why I picked it up. So I'm hoping that picks up soon. Like, this is a kind of long book, so we'll see. And I remember this kind of being the case with Winter's Orbit, where I was just like, I like these characters and I like the romance part of the story. Can we go to that? And this, I like the plot parts more than I liked Winter's Orbit, but I'm still like, I didn't pick this up because I was like, ooh, military space opera, that speaks to me. Like, this is a military space opera and I do like that subgenre. But I don't think this is doing that, like, excellently. So, I don't know. Here's hoping. I mean, I think if I get to 70% and I still don't see where the romance is, I probably will put it down. Because, like, that's why I picked it up. But this current plot twist, like, not twist, but, you know, this plot pivot into this, like, teamwork montage section is something I do eat up. So, that's what's keeping me going. Because I almost did put this down. Because I'm like, what are we doing? I mean, I don't dislike it, but I'm here for a reason. Are we going to do it? Plus, brain, you know, just being in a bad place. Another book that has suffered from my brain not being ready for it is Spear Cuts Through Water. This is my edition. I am finished the beginning. So this is split into days before travel. And I really love the project of the book, and I want to read it so bad. And I think maybe after I film a bunch of videos, I might have the brain space to pick it up. Because it is a book that if I miss a sentence, I feel like I've missed part of the immersive experience, because the sentences are so beautiful and lush and descriptive, and not descriptive in like a visual way. Like, there's a lot being evoked in these sentences, and so if my brain is just not awake, I will glaze over sentences and I won't be as immersed, and that feels like a detriment, because I do actually really like this writing style and I like the project of it. It is reminding me a little bit of Grace of Kings, so if that's a buzzword for you, like you liked Grace of Kings, this might be a thing. I also do think it's like not going to be for everyone, but I need to read more of it and figure it out, because it's like storyteller vibes. Like, we are at this theater and someone is watching this play, and then we're kind of in the play, and it's really an interesting storytelling experience that I'm enjoying the project of. But because of how unique the narrative nesting is, and the way that we are doing narrative voices and character creation and interaction, it's just not going to work for everyone. That's just true. I feel like The Vanished Birds is going to have more mass appeal in my head than this would, and even then, like, I know The Vanished Birds is not for everyone. But I'm enjoying it, and I just want my brain to be awake. So maybe tonight my brain will be awake, because it truly has not been awake. And then, because my brain has not been awaked, I've started an audiobook, and I got a romance book in from the library. And so both of those things are working well for me. One, just because the audiobook I can immersion read and it works out, and that's Null States by Malka Older. I talked about this on Monday's video about wanting to continue series, and then Shannon was like, hey, do you want to keep buddy reading it, because we read Infomocracy together? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Can you start like right now, because I needed an audiobook while cleaning the apartment? And she's like, oh yeah, sure. And so I'm about 40% of the way through this, and I struggle with Malka Older. If you are someone who loves classic sci-fi, like you're just like, I eat dry classic sci-fi up, I think you should try this out, because she's definitely here for the ideas and the theme and the project of what would it look like if we had micro-democracies. And she kind of ties that to your action movie, espionage, Mission Impossible type plot. Okay? But what that means is that, like a Mission Impossible movie, where for some reason Tom Cruise has a different character motivation in every movie, and I never know what it is or why, there's that type of feeling of character inconsistency between books, and also it's just not, the characters are not so flat or non-existent, but it's really hard every time I start these books to connect to these characters and latch onto them. Like, there's a character in the first book that I love that's the main character of this book, and I felt like I was meeting a different character, and it's not that it's been too long. Like, I have a relatively decent memory about books. It's getting better as I get into it. I'm thinking this author just has a rough time doing the first 20 to 30% of a book for me and my tastes. And now that I'm in it, and now I see all the problems that we need to figure out, like, I see the plot, and I see what we have to work out, and I see the thematic discussions, I'm like, I really like this project. I just wish I liked the characters more. And that's similar to how I feel when I watch Mission Impossible movies, where it's like, I love action movies, I'm here for this, but like, even though we sort of have a cohesive team from movie to movie, it doesn't feel like, let's say, The Fast and the Furious or something like that. I don't know, like, The Fast and the Furious, for as campy as it is, has like characters that are consistent from movie to movie for me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I missed you, it's like coming home. It's not how I feel in Mission Impossible, and that's kind of my attempt at describing the character work dissonance that I have while reading this series. But I love the project so much. I was talking to Shannon, and it's just like, I don't get to read stories that often that look at really unique government systems. And sometimes I'm interested in that. Like, the number of times that I get to read a story that is just feudalism or monarchies, and we're going to tear it down, resistance, and rise up, and for the people. Like, we do that all the time. It usually ends in representative democracy, which we already have, and we already know the flaws of, and, you know, what works and doesn't work. It's like, seeing a different potential future system and the flaws and the pros of that is fascinating. And in this book in particular, we are taking place in an area that has just become part of the system, that has just dissolved its nation state and had sentinels formed. And it's also during a time where these null states are actually conflicting, and it's interesting, and it's the fallout from the first book. It's complex. So like, those things are cool. I just want to like the characters like 20% more. And typically, if it's like the first book, by the end of the book, I will have had enough investment, because normally after the setup, and I just think it's the character setup, I suddenly am like, oh, I loved that moment that character had with this other character, and it like fills in the characterization blanks for me, but like when the introduction's rough, like it truly is. And then my brain candy book that I'm really excited, like if my brain will not let me read Spirit Cuts Through Water, I will be picking this up, and this is Love on the Brain. And I'm so glad that it's been a couple months since I read The Love Hypothesis, and I am here for the tropes. Like, I'm ready. I'm not that far in, but I'm ready. And I actually really like that this main character is post-grad. Like, I think she's even postdoc. She's, like, looking to set up her own lab and stuff like that. So it's an older protagonist, which I, like. She's closer to my age and my experience. I already see that we've got, oh, you think he hates you, but actually he's just so infatuated he can't handle himself, which, like, is kind of a trope I've been wanting lately. Like, I've almost started rereading Twilight for that type of miscommunication trope. I didn't quite, and I almost did because, if you don't know, Kieran's been doing a live reading of Twilight. Which has been phenomenal. I'll link it down below. Kieran's amazing. If you don't follow Kieran and you like literary fiction or just laughing, you should follow his channel. Phenomenal person. But anyways, this has that trope for sure. And then it has like a you got mail kind of trope where like they're definitely always in contact with each other on Twitter and they don't know it. And I'm just excited. I'm just truly excited. I'm so early days, but I'm excited. So if my brain can't handle Spirit Cuts Through Water, I will be reading this, which could they be more opposite? No, who knows? But like I said, I don't know what my mental health wants. I don't know. And another thing that I probably won't keep updating you on, because this is like a long-term project, like long-term, like I read a paragraph a day term. And that's that I am trying to read a paragraph a day of La Herencia de Orquídea Divina. And it's a challenge. It truly is. I have a pretty good grasp of grammatical structures, but there's just a lot of words I don't know. Like, you take for granted how many words you know in a language. So I read a paragraph and then I look up a bunch of words and I make sure I'm putting things in the correct tense as I'm reading it. And then the next day I reread the paragraph I read the day before and keep going. I'm just like doing that as a way of increasing my vocabulary and my handle of how grammar is used in real space, because there's a lot of like grammatical things that don't have direct translations between languages that until you just get used to seeing it in practice, you don't know how to naturally use it. So this is a thing I'm going to do. And I really love the edition Evie got me. And I really want to buy some of my other favorite books in Spanish, but I need to actually prove to myself that I will read a book in Spanish first. Because the books that I want to get, they're each like $30. So it's not like cheap. But man, do I want Elantris in Spanish and The Best of All Possible Worlds in Spanish? Like, do I want them? I want them. Especially, like, Elantris' cover in Spanish. That's stunning. Like, that's beautiful. I really just, and you can get it in a hardback. Like, I want it. I want it really bad. But yeah, that's kind of this video. Another book or two that might be on deck if my mood lets me, and you'll have to wait for the wrap up to find out. War Child. I got this from the library, and it's in second person right away, which excites me. But it seems like it's a little heavy, and you drop right in the action, and my brain wasn't quite there. But I'm excited by it. It's on my phone and my Kindle. And then, of course, I don't know if it's near enough me. Yes, here it is. Ugh. Under all the things. If I want a sci-fi romp, I have this. Because I think this is trying to be rompy and a romance, but I'm not getting sci-fi romp from this. But I could do this. Also, they're like pink and purple. I love that. So that's this video. What are you reading, doing, watching? I'm still loving House of the Dragon, and I'm kind of sad that I won't be able to watch episode 6 with everyone, because I'll be with family. But it's okay. It's okay. But man, I'm having a good time. I'm still having a great time. It's truly just amazing to me how much I like it compared to the original series, which I didn't love nearly as much as everyone else. So it's been fun to actually like something that's popular in real time. What a time. It's been fun. If you want to leave an emoji, let's leave, I don't know, a brain emoji. Those exist. We'll leave a brain emoji. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.